don't just be a copycat. Don't look around what everybody else is doing. Sure, learn from them, but create something that works for you first. And if it does, then probably it's going to work for the market as well.
Welcome to Biz Stories Shared, where storytellers share their inspiration, motivation, some disappointments, and how they applied the lessons that led them to success. Stories are gifts. Listen as these gifts are shared. Now, here is your host, Charlotte Plott.
Hello, storytellers. This is Charlotte Plott, and I am thrilled to bring you our guest today, Hugh Culver. Hugh, are you ready to be a storyteller?
I am ready, Charlotte.
Oh, good. Hugh Culver teaches experts how to influence growth, influence more, and earn more. He is an author, speaker, and CEO of GetSOS.net, Smart Traffic Growth. Hugh, I've given our listeners just a little summary about you, so will you take a minute and tell us more about you personally, because we want to get to know you better, and then give us an overview of your business.
Sure, you bet. So I actually came out of the adventure travel industry as a young guy. That's what I grew up doing with my older brother. And then I migrated from taking people down rivers and flying people to the South Pole to consulting and teaching. And so for the last 15 years, I've been working with not-for-profits, corporations, and government to help them to be more effective at work. And in the last 5 years, I'm working more and more with people who want to do exactly what I do. So I'm helping people who want to become seminar leaders, who want to speak on stage, or want to write books. And we're having a great time. And we also created a program called SOS, which helps bloggers to get more traffic. So I've
Oh,
got a number of sort of avenues in my business that we're building, and yeah, and we're having a lot of fun.
I want to ask you, going to the South Pole,
Right.
my picture of the South Pole, it's pretty cold and bleak. What do
Well,
you do there?
it's colder than Mesa, Arizona. Uh, so in adventure travel, people often are looking for what's the latest next big thing. And travel to the polar regions is really exotic for some people. Of course, some people don't want to go there because it's really uncomfortable and dangerous. But for people that are real, not so much risk takers, but for people that really want to do the next big thing, whether that's climb the highest mountain or swim with sharks or fly to the South Pole, this is a really big draw. And we had a team of, there's 4 partners in our company. And we decided that if we're going to take people to Antarctica, well, obviously we have to go all the way to the pole because the pole is the big draw. And of
Okay.
course, historically, we have really famous explorers like Amundsen and Scott that have really pioneered that kind of travel, and Shackleton, of course, as well. And so there's a lot of lore behind getting to the pole, and much more so than the North Pole, by the way. So we became the only operator of trips to the South Pole, and our company still is to this day.
Really?
And so obviously we commanded a lot of attention both in the media, but also in terms of our ability to find clients and to get clients to sign up. And we were charging a fortune, like it was a lot of money because of the nature of the travel and the difficulty. The logistics were incredibly complicated. So, but for me it was a fascinating experience, and it launched me into the speaking business because people then wanted to know, well, how did you do that? Like, how
Right.
did you sell these crazy trips to the South Pole, and how did you find these clients, and then how did you put together the logistics and the team and those sorts of things. So, at the end of the day, it was a real blessing to have the opportunity to do it.
Well, that does sound fascinating. Thanks for giving us some of the highlights of that. And then you played golf at the North Pole too.
I did. Yes, I've been to the North Pole. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here at Biz Stories Shared, we start every show with our guest's favorite quote. So, would you tell us your favorite quote and how you apply this to your everyday thinking?
Okay. So mine for today, because I have a lot of favorite quotes, is from a Canadian who's passed away now. His name is Marshall McLellan. And it's very simple. It is, I wouldn't see it if I didn't believe it. And you got to kind of get your head around this one. So he's saying, I wouldn't see it if I didn't believe it. So, in other words, I need to remind myself every day that what I see is probably a fabrication of what I believe. And so if I'm frustrated with something, or I think something is impossible, or I think that I'm not capable, then I need to remind myself that I'm probably believing that first before I actually see it. So obviously the reverse is, if I change my beliefs, I will change what I see.
That's deep, but very profound. I like that. I'm going to have to think about that. Well, Hugh, as entrepreneurs, we have to have an internal armor so we know it's okay to fail or to quit. Will you tell us of a time that you felt you just wanted to quit? And most importantly, the lessons that you learned?
Sure. So I have a history of getting really, really busy in my businesses, of just becoming completely overwhelmed. And about 5 years ago, if you'd asked me what I doing, I would say I'm running a training company, and we had two full-time office employees. We had three other people doing training with me, and I had two coaches. And I was following this old pattern where I was super busy. My kids were still fairly young at that time, and I realized that I what I was doing was unsustainable.
Mm,
Um, and so but fortunately, I also recognized the pattern. And so for the first time, perhaps I recognized that it wasn't about the business, it was about me. And at that point, I decided that I needed to end it. So I closed the company down, and that operation and that office, and I let all those people go. And I went into a little 200 square foot office. And I remember it's just down the street from where I am now, and it had no windows, but it had a
oh
big
my.
skylight. And for 1 year, all I did was speaking. So I just did keynotes. So I didn't do any more training or facilitation, which I was doing a lot of. At that point, by the way, I was doing 110 speaking engagements a year.
My goodness.
And so I went down and I cut it back to 45, and I increased my fees.
Okay.
And in that year, I doubled my net income, but I also had an amazing year. I wrote my first book. I went on 4 adventures with my family. I trained for and I won the world's longest endurance race. I just had all these victories in that 1 year. And it just really woke me up to realize that I've got to just be really cautious of these old patterns that start to lead me down this inevitable path of failure. And by breaking that pattern and catching it, I was able to actually take what I was already doing, but just start off on a new path. So I didn't really have to throw everything away. I just needed to get onto a new path with what I was already doing. And that now has been 5 years, and it's led me into a completely different angle with my business, which is, really exciting for me. I feel like a new entrepreneur all over again.
Oh, that's exciting. That was a very good explanation of you didn't really quit. You just sort of refocused. You did quit one part of it, but it was a refocus, wasn't it?
Yeah, very, very much so. And so now, because I'm working with hundreds of entrepreneurs, all of whom want to be speakers and trainers, I see the same patterns showing up in them.
Oh,
So they, for example, think that the topic that they have is valuable for the market, and it's going to make them a fortune, and yet the market is not responding. No one is reading their blogs, no one is coming to their workshops, no one is signing up for their online programs or whatever it is that they're marketing. And rather than stepping back and re-examining what they're offering, they blame the market, or they say, well, I'm too early, I haven't done enough. It's the same thing with podcasts. You can have a podcast and you can beat your head against the wall and think, I'm doing everything right, I'm doing everything right, and you watch these people that are just soaring with huge followings, and you think, I'm not doing it. Well, it may be the podcast is slightly off track. It just doesn't have the right twist to it. And I think that if we can continually step back and experiment, we're going to
okay.
have a lot more success long term. And this recording, like right now, is a really interesting time of year, because in the entrepreneurial world that I live in, we have kind of 90 days right now. So we have about 90 days, and in those 90 days, before we get into mid-December and everything changes with holidays and people's thinking and their ability to buy, in those 90 days is a perfect time to experiment.
Wow.
So what is it I'm going to do for the very first time, simply just because I need to learn? So if a person is struggling trying to finish their book, rather than plowing on and plowing on and plowing on and exhausting themselves and probably alienating themselves from their family and
Right.
their friends and continually saying, "Oh, I've almost finished," they should experiment. They should do something completely different. They should go away for 2 days with a commitment they're going to finish the first draft. They should hire someone that's going to come in and coach them. They should cut their book in half and get it out faster rather than putting this huge monster out on the market that no one's ever going to read. They should stop the project and go and create 2 ebooks in the meantime. Just experiment and see actually what happens, because um, the world is not going to wait for us. We
Hmm.
have to step up and show the world what we have. And working on, some project that no one is responding to or that you're not having fun with is not going to serve anybody.
Hmm. Well, what I liked about what you said is when you're doing that experimenting, you have to pivot and change your direction,
Right?
say from writing a book to 2 ebooks. It wasn't a failure that you didn't finish the
Correct.
book. You just pivoted and went in a different direction, which is probably going to be better in the long run.
Right, exactly right. And I think that as entrepreneurs, it's very difficult to maintain momentum because often we don't have a whole cheerleader team behind us.
Hmm.
And so I think that if we can find small wins, it naturally feeds our motivation. And so, for example, one quick little ebook is going to get you a small win, and that's going to feel good. It's the same thing with taking your existing blog and making it shorter or posting it more frequently or writing a guest blog. Like, get some small wins happening and you'll
Okay.
naturally be fueled.
Oh, I like that. Well, thank you for sharing that information. That was very valuable. And so, what I would like to do now, Hugh, is go to the other end of the spectrum and let's talk about a time in your journey when you had an aha moment, when you became aware of the new path that you wanted to travel. So, tell us the story and some of the changes in the direction.
Sure. Well, so one of the things that I changed in the last 5 years was I reduced how much I offered. And the reason I did it is because, first of all, I was overwhelmed trying to offer everything to everybody. And when I made the transition, Charlotte, from primarily being working with government offices and with corporate, like large corporations, and I was doing a lot of going out there and doing staff development workshops over and over and leadership, leadership, leadership. The first thing I did to step into this entrepreneurial world where I was working with entrepreneurs again, in particular people that want to become speakers, was I launched a year-long program. And I called it Team Coach. And it was very simple, Charlotte. I got on the phone and I phoned people I knew and I said, I would like to coach you for 1 year.
Oh, my goodness.
And I charged $6,500, which I thought was an enormous amount of money because
Yes.
I've never paid that much for a coach ever. And he said, I'll coach you for a whole year for $6,500 and we're going to meet 4 times.
Oh, four?
And the design was 4 2-day meetings.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it wasn't even that. It was 2 2-day, 1 1 day. So in total, we were only going to meet for 6 days for $6,500. And in between, I said, we'll have a quick conversation every month to keep you on track. And I thought this was just really, as I wanted to go as I wanted to create a design that was really best for me first and
Yes.
best for them second, because I just spent the previous 10 years doing everything for my clients,
Right.
And I said, if like I'm going to create a new program, I'm going to make it good for me. And what's good for me is to do a great job, but not be beholden to these people. I don't want to be on the phone every week with them and holding their hand. So I'm going to do these intense retreats, and in between, we'll do touch base sessions. And so we ended up with 8 people saying yes, and I would come in every week. And Sarah, who works for me now full time, was working for me part time. And I'd say, okay, Sarah, the goal this week is one person. And all week long, my goal was just to get one person to sign up. And I came in and I said, okay, now we got one. Now next week, we're going to get two. And in about 1 month, we had all 8 people signed up. One person ended up dropping out because it just was not affordable for her. We ended up with 7 people. They ran through the whole year, and it was like a love-in. Like we still are
Oh,
best friends. We just had a dinner together in town with 3 of us that were happened to be in town at the same time, and it was an amazing experience. So what it taught me was the power of me creating my own product.
right,
And I'd never really done that before. And I mean, I'd written a book and a few other things, but I never created a product. And it took me back to the old days when we were inventing things like, river rafting programs and climbs in Antarctica. So I was inventing stuff in adventure tourism, and I'd forgotten what that magic was like. And so when I went out to the world with this thing called Team Coach, it wasn't perfect by any means, and I definitely changed it as the year progressed, but at least I'd created it. I'd made it mine. And the market, responded,
right,
thankfully, right?
right.
And so I think that the big aha moment for me was, don't just be a copycat. Don't look around what everybody else is doing. Sure, learn from them, but create something that works for you first. And if it does, then probably it's going to work for the market as well.
Wow, that that was very interesting and a powerful story. Thanks for sharing that. Well, you mentioned that your previous business model involved being mostly a keynote speaker
Right.
with many hours away from home due to the travel involved. And you've changed your model and you've sort of addressed this already. So if this is redundant, we won't keep going on it. But along with keynote speaking, you now do webinars, coaching, writing, social media postings, plus many other products. So will you tell us that story and share how you knew that you needed help by having a team and some advice for the listeners about growing a team?
Sure. No, really good question. So we do have multiple streams of income. Some people would look at my business and say it's really complicated. Certainly compared to a simple keynote business, it is complicated, but it's what I enjoy. I like to have that kind of variety. So the team it's a really delicate topic, Charlotte. So in my mind, there's 3 types of ways to outsource. So one is get something done, hire someone on Fiverr, get a friend, it's done. You're not going to repeat it for a while, like a book cover or an editing job or something like that, like cleaning your house, or, well, that's not a good example, but cleaning your yard.
Okay.
You're going to hire them once and maybe you don't need them for another year. The second way to hire people is as a virtual assistant. And this is what a lot of people think about as entrepreneurs. And there's been some books recently which are excellent, like Chris Ducker's book around virtual freedom, which are really excellent to describe how to hire a virtual assistant. And it's a complicated investment and it's a real partnership because you're trying to get that person to understand your business. And often it fails because the entrepreneur either does not have enough business to keep the virtual assistant busy,
Okay.
or they don't have the discipline to give them good training and direction.
Right.
And it still does work, but I would suggest to have a virtual assistant that's successful, you need to have a business that's pretty busy
Okay.
and the income to support it. Third is where you hire someone for a routine, and this is my favorite. So when you hire someone to do a routine like cleaning your house, what it means is I expect you to do this every week.
Mm-hmm.
Every week you're going to do this one routine. The beauty of that is that you don't really even have to know my business. You don't really have to come and work with me here. You can be anywhere. Like we prefer when we do this to hire people in our own time zone, but you could be really anywhere in the world doing this. But the idea is that I create what's called a standard operating procedure, and that SOP describes exactly how I want you to do the routine.
Okay.
So a good example for people to use would be if you're a blogger posting your blog. If you actually write down all the steps to posting your blog properly, with the proper SEO keywords put in, with promoting it in social media, putting in headers, there's probably about 12 to 15 steps,
Okay.
12 to 20 steps. So you write up those 12 to 20 steps. You go onto a site like Upwork, or not Fiverr, but more of a site like Upwork, which is going to go and scour the world, and people are going to bid on your job. You hire someone for a set price for the first 3 months to try them out, a low price, and you give them that one routine. And for the first month, don't give them anything else. Don't give them
Oh,
any other jobs. They just do that one routine over and over. Create a little checklist online, go into Google Docs. Every time they finish it, they go into Google Docs, they write down that they finished the job. You keep track of it. And then once you feel comfortable that they're competent and they don't need any more direction on that one routine, you give them a second routine.
I see.
Or maybe you don't even give them a second routine. You just give them that one routine.
Okay.
So we now have a team of there's uh, 5, 6, 7. There's 9 of us.
Wow.
And so we have one in Portland and one in Ontario, and all they do is routines for us. So one of them is an Infusionsoft specialist, and so all she does is set up Infusionsoft campaigns for us. The
Wow.
other one is a specialist in terms of WordPress. So all she does is stuff inside my website. The other 5, all they do is our work on SOS, which is a social media posting service for bloggers. That's all they do over and over again all day long. And so we have and then Sarah in my office is an assistant. So she's actually almost like a partner in my business. So she
Okay.
totally understands everything we've done. Well, I don't really want a whole lot of more Sarahs. What I want is people that are going to take care of these little routines. And so
Right.
so to grow your business, I really encourage entrepreneurs, look for one routine that you would classify as like a $12 an hour job. Like you should not be doing it.
Right.
Post
Right.
that job on Upwork, hire someone to do that routine, and then spend a few minutes every week and make sure they're doing it really well. Coach them, give them feedback, but don't overwhelm them. Don't give them any more jobs. And what you do then is you'll experience an amazing amount of freedom.
Well, that does sound like a very smart and professional way to start building your team. Thanks for that description. Mistakes do you see people make when they're growing their small
Well,
business?
sure, and the most obvious one is they do everything themselves, and I'm totally guilty of this. And many times in my business career, I've done it all myself. So I try to give it to somebody else, and then when they make a mistake or they're too slow, I take it back
Right.
again, right? And then so that's a big mistake. At the end of the year, no one's going to care how you got the stuff done. All they're going to care about is did you get it done. It's like
Okay.
no one really cares. Um, did you edit your own book? Do you post your own blog or that
Right.
sort of thing? So like right now, I'm still creating the image that goes with my blog, and I know, and I've known for months, I shouldn't be doing that anymore. As much as I love doing it, it's kind of fun. I shouldn't be doing it. Like it's enough time just to write the blog. So that's my next job is I need to hire someone. We've actually posted the job already. Hire someone, and that's all they do is the image for my blog. And then naturally we'll find other things. So the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs making is they try to do it all themselves, and there's no way
Right.
they can be competent at all those things. And then the second mistake they make is that they don't think big picture. So they think in terms of, well, to get this job done, it's got to get done faster, so I'll take it back. But big picture thinking would be, at the end of the day, that's going to slow me down. Big
Right.
picture thinking is if I'm going to make $100,000 this year or $80,000 this year, I cannot afford to be doing $12 an hour jobs. So big picture thinking is to have a plan for the week. I call it your flight plan. To be very conscientious about not taking on minor jobs and to be very focused on the big things that bring in the new business. So the contacts, very focused on the new clients you're going to bring in and completing projects. So don't get stuck doing $12 an hour jobs. You got to be very careful because that's it's also, Charlotte, it's what Robert Fritz would call the path of least resistance. So,
Yes.
right, it's a lot easier for me
Right.
to create that little image for my blog
Yes.
than to go out and find someone and hire someone, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I have to overcome that path of least resistance and do a little bit of hard work so that I can reap the benefits long term.
Well, and that does take good discipline, but it pays off, doesn't it?
Well, of course it does. It's much easier to sit there in your spare bedroom and do everything yourself. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality is you cannot possibly keep up or move forward. And so it's very hard, like when I got into the speaking business, it wasn't complicated. Maybe you needed a video or something like that, but there wasn't as many speakers around and I knew everybody in the industry and I didn't have to think about Facebook and Twitter and
Right.
updating all these things. I just simply worked with a few people that got me all my work. And so what I see now is it's overwhelming, and everybody has advice, and it's easy to get distracted. And I think that if you don't have a coach or a mastermind group, you're going to probably end up going off track and doing a lot of minor things that won't get you anywhere.
Mm. Oh, that's so true. I can believe that.
Right. It's
Well,
easy to stay busy.
it is. It is. Hugh, now I'm going to ask you to share your proudest entrepreneurial moment.
Okay. Well, I actually have a lot of them. I mean, I definitely would say moving to the smaller office, the team coach, that sort of stuff, I would say. And then I think last year launching SOS, which is this really simple idea where we take bloggers and we get them more traffic, where we actually have real human beings read their blog and then create social media posts every day that gives.
Really?
And what I'm proud about there, Charlotte, is that not only are we getting amazing results for these bloggers, but that we're hiring these women who get income because of us. And so
Wow.
right now we're at 5 women that we've hired over the last year. We just hired a 5th one. And what's really amazing is they get to work from home, they get to be with their kids, and by putting in a couple hours every week, they get this nice little source of income, and they get to do some really interesting work, which has a lot of variety. Like every week, they're reading the blog from these different authors, speakers, coaches, whatever these people are that are using SOS. They read the blog, they create these social media posts, and it drives more traffic into the website. And so I think that product of all the products we've created is the one that I'm most proud of because it's an amazing win-win-win. Like it's great for me as the business owner, it's great for the blogger, and it's really great for these women.
Oh, that's a triple win,
Triple
isn't it?
win-win. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
good for you. And people really want to hear stories like yours because it gives us the incentive to keep trying when we get so discouraged and disappointed that things aren't working. So, do you have one other thing that's really exciting you in your business right now?
Well, yes, I do. So we launched last year a program called Boss Business of Speaking School. And that was really fun, Charlotte, because I really had to get out of my comfort zone. I invited this amazing woman, Jane Atkinson, who's really well known internationally as a coach for speakers. Her book is called The Wealthy Speaker.
Okay.
And I invited her in. And I said, let's do this program together. And let's create this 8-week training program for speakers. And it was unbelievably successful.
Wow.
And that was last March, this year in March. And so March and April, and the alumni still talk every day on Facebook.
Really?
And yeah, it's fantastic. And so we're launching it again in March of 2016. And what I'm excited about is that now not only will Jane and I be on board, but I'm going to have 3 other experts come on board. So it's going to be this faculty of experts that's going to take these emerging speakers from beginner to expert in 8 weeks. And so I'm really excited about putting that program together and just watching the results.
Well, that is exciting to hear. And so you'll keep us posted
I
when.
will. Yeah. So it's an annual event. So every year we're going to run a boss program, and I think it's really exciting. And we're going to invite back the old alumni and
Right.
get them involved with the program. And I think it's really cool. I mean, it's like a lot of things we're doing online now, Charlotte. It's complicated to become a speaker. It's like what topic do I speak about, and how do I market myself, and should I have a book first, and how do I even work with the client and so what we're trying to do is demystify it, but also in 8 weeks, give them all the tools they need so that they can get launched, but also have this treasure chest of tools that they can refer to. So how do you set your prices? What are some ways to get more exposure with speaker bureaus? And should I work with a bureau? And how to sell back of room? And I mean, there's just so many questions that people have when they're trying to get into this business.
Well, on when you're holding these courses, do they have to be where you are so you're in person
Well, no, I'm
taking?
using a really interesting hybrid model. So the way it works is that every Monday they get what we call the homework. And the
Okay.
homework is usually 2 videos they have to watch.
Okay.
And then there's a little worksheet they have to do. And then on Friday, we have a 90-minute phone call. and the whole group comes on that phone call. And
Oh,
on that phone call, we do a recap of the lessons, and then we answer their questions. So they're in school. So Monday they get their homework, and then by Friday they need to come prepared to the call to handle the call. And it's and every week has a theme. And so it's really cool. So it takes them through this whole progress, and it's all archived. They can go back and look at all the different weeks.
okay.
And meanwhile, we have a private Facebook group, and so then that's our communication tool. So all day long, they are communicating within the private Facebook group about the lessons.
Great.
So it's kind of a hybrid. So it's not completely online or in the can, because we're
Right,
doing a live call as well.
right.
Um, but it does have a start and an end. So it only runs once a year.
I really like the format of
Yeah.
the homework and then getting
Right.
together. You need that connection to know that you're not doing it alone and maybe you get off track and
Right.
think,
And I think what happens, Charlotte, is okay, so let's say on Monday you were busy that week and you had great intentions, and the videos are short. They're only 15 to 20 minutes. And let's say that this week was all about your website and you didn't have time. Well, on Friday, we're going to motivate you to go and watch those, because we're going to get all excited about what was in those videos. We're going to do a quick recap. We're going to talk about some key points. We're going to be answering people's questions, um, and so you're going to get excited thinking, oh man, I really got to go back. I better watch those this week, because now I understand more about why that is so
sure,
important.
sure.
And what we're sharing with them is it's very specific to being a speaker. And so you're not going to find this in one location anywhere else, where it's really from industry experts who have earned a lot of money as a speaker, explaining, well, when it comes to being a speaker, this is how you set your fees, and this is what you can do and can't do. And when you actually are this is the value of doing free presentations. But when you do a free presentation, here's 5 things you need to do so that it's a win-win.
Right.
So that you actually are collecting names, building referrals, getting testimonials. Like, these are the things you need to do. And so it's really fun. It's really really fun for me to put it together every year.
Oh, I can imagine that it
Yeah.
is fun and I'm thinking of a couple of people that I'm going to tell about it so that when you post it that maybe they'll contact you.
That's great. And they can go to the website right now, which I think is called the speaking. Let me just go. I haven't
Okay.
been there for a while, but it's called business of speaking school.com.
Okay, great.
Business
Thank you.
speaking school.com. So pretty easy.
All right. Well, Hugh, would you share what's the best business advice that you've ever received?
Whew. So I've gotten so much advice, but I would have to say it came from my brother Dan, way back when we were running the rafting companies, and I would get completely overwhelmed with all of our rafting company was quite big. And so I would get overwhelmed as a young guy with all the things that were going on that weekend with our trips. And he just always said, just think about the big picture and the details will follow.
Really?
And as entrepreneurs, here's a good example. I was giving a speech this last week, and I said one of the mistakes I see people making is they start their day with email as if email is going to give them direction.
Right.
That's completely backwards. Email is everybody else's objectives organized in your inbox. Those are their objectives. Those aren't your objectives. But when you think big picture, you already show up with a plan. Like when I came in today, I've already got a plan for the week. I know what I need to do.
Right.
I'm going to have this great call with Charlotte, and then right after that, I got 3 other things to do. Then I'm off to yoga. Then I'm doing this, and I'm writing. And so I've got a plan. Don't let email drive your day. Don't let the latest fantastic app drive your day. What you need to do is think big picture. And so right now, people should at the very minimum be thinking, where do I need to be by the end of December? But
Okay.
not only in terms of my revenues and my projects, but where do I need to be to prepare myself for success in 2016? That's big picture thinking. And it's scary because you may be wrong. And I think that's why sometimes we avoid it. We think, well, that kind of sets me up to fail. So rather than doing that, I'm going to just stay busy. I'm going to tell everybody I'm just about to finish my book.
Okay.
And my website is almost about to be
Almost.
revised,
Yes.
and blah blah blah, and nobody cares. Like, everybody, Everybody is only, all we're interested in is what have you produced, right? So you,
Right.
Charlotte, have produced a podcast, right? You got
Yes.
to, so you've done it. You didn't just talk about it, you actually got it done. People need to be thinking, where do I need to be by the end of the year to create success for next year? And don't worry about being wrong. You will be wrong. But get something down on paper. And it should include not only revenues, of course, broken down by income stream, but it should include it's like products you've created. And that product could be a new speech, or it could be a new ebook, or it could be a better website, or it could be a live program. One of the simplest things for people to do. I'll give you a little trick. Would you like to
Okay.
have a trick to
Oh, I would.
earn money?
Yes.
Okay, this is the simplest way to earn money.
Okay.
This is so ridiculously simple. If you have any kind of expertise that people find valuable, put together a coaching package for 3 months. Probably you would maybe have 2 calls a month and sell it.
Really?
That's it. Yep, sell it. You can start at like $1,500 and maybe you can work yourself up to $3,000 for that package, but sell it as a bundle. And so you're saying to this person, just like I did with Team Coach, rather than 1 year, it's over 3 months. You're saying to this person, you want to move forward. I can help you. It's going to take us 3 months. This is what I'm going to charge you. And we're going to talk twice a month for 1 hour. And it's going to be this much money. And so what you're doing is you're setting, it's like he's saying basically, I commit to you for 3 months, you commit to me for 3 months. You're going to have to put some money on the line because I need your buy-in. And that's going to
Right.
make me, I'm going to do my homework for you because you've made that commitment. And that's the simplest way to increase your income.
Huh. Wow,
You
I
could,
like
and then
that.
and then what you should do is you should go get a tool like Schedule Once, and
Yes.
then they book their meetings with you and block off everything except 1 day a week. So in other words, they can only book 1 day of the week.
Right.
So now you know that all these coaching clients are going to happen on Tuesday.
Okay.
That's it. So
That's it.
now you've dedicated 1 day out of your week, and right away you're earning a lot more money.
Buku bucks.
Buku bucks. Plus, you're doing something really, really good. Like you're doing
Yes.
something great for them because you're moving them forward. The thing with coaching is you need to be a good coach, but you don't need to be an expert in what they do.
So I wouldn't have to be certified to do the
I,
example of
I'm
what
not
you just
that
did.
actually. I mean, you can quote me on this, but I'm not sure that actually helps some people.
Okay.
I think the value is the insight and the compassion that they bring, the ability to listen, and the ability to listen and turn what they've heard into a good question.
Okay.
And I think if you can go and get certified, that may help you. But for most people, they already know how to do that.
Well, and it just keeps you from starting
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Most people know what they need to do. They just need a coach to help them to say it.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much for that. And so then, would you share with us, Hugh, what is the vision of the future of your business?
Sure. So this is pretty exciting. My last birthday was April of 2000, well, this year. And because I have one every year apparently. And on my birthday, I was wondering what's going to be my next challenge. And so I decided that I would retire when I turned 60.
Really?
Yeah, and so I'll give you the countdown right now. Let me just pull it up. So I actually realized at that date that I had 1,460 days to go, and so I made a goal for all the things I wanted to accomplish in the next 1,460 days,
My goodness.
and it's a pretty lofty goal because I'm an ambitious guy, as you can tell,
Yes.
and it was really exciting to figure it all out, right? So what do I need to do in the next, you know, um, I'm just going to pull it up here for you to get the proper count. So what I need to do financially? What would I need to do in terms of my health? What would I need to do so that I am going to be prepared to retire in 1,460 days? And I'll tell you, Charlotte, it has become, I think right now, I'll just guess, but I think today I'm at 945 days.
Oh, my.
And so it's been very exciting for me to figure out, okay, financially, in terms of my health, in terms of my family and my relationships with my wife, in terms of my business, what would I have to do so that I could shut it all down when I turn 60?
Tell me what that means to you mentally. to think about shutting it all down?
It's exciting.
Is
Not
it?
because not because I want to shut it down. I'm actually enjoying myself, but because it's like I drew the line in the sand and I've created this challenge for myself to see if I can actually pull that off. And whether I and it's like any kind of goal you set. You may not actually hit on all the metrics, but
Right.
you're going to be much further ahead than if you didn't set it at all. And so it's really exciting for me to be challenged in that way, to think, okay, wow, what would that be like? And then what kind of freedom would that allow me so that I could just speak and write? Those are the two things that I would hang on to, speaking and writing.
Oh, so you could still do
Sure.
your loves, the things you love to do.
Right. But I don't consider, that really about having, like, that's not really like having a business with 8 staff.
Right. Okay. A big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have a coffee maker anymore. Or a parking spot. So it's really exciting. And so whether that's when you turn 60 or 65 or 70, it doesn't really matter, but to be thinking, okay, so then what? Because again, like I've been saying through this whole interview, at the end of the day, nobody really cares what I did today. All they care is what did I produce? What did I produce, right? My
Right.
wife certainly doesn't care what I do during the day. I mean, I love her, she loves me, but she doesn't really care what I do during the day. All she cares about is, am I, present? Like, am
Happy.
I with
Yeah.
her? Like, or am I helping out around the house?
Right.
And so, me putting in more and more time in my business at some point does not produce the results I'm looking for.
Right.
So when I said, okay, I'm going to retire at that date, which is April of 2018, then I thought, okay, all right. So I commit to working hard until then so that I've got a completely new opportunity following that.
Wow. I think that sounds so healthy. It really does.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of why you're doing all of this for these next few days. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, Hugh, will you share one of your personal habits that you strongly believe contributes to your success?
Sure. So one of them is I have many, but one of them is get up at 5 a.m. every day. And
Hmm.
so from 5 till 7, I write. And I don't do anything on the internet. I don't check my email. I just write. And
Okay.
so I always know what I'm going to work on in the morning before I start. So either I've done a draft before I go to bed, or I know the project. I'm in the middle of a project. But my goal is 5 a.m., make a cup of tea, and I write until 7 a.m. And then I exercise for the next 45 minutes, usually with my dog. So we go for, like today was just a big, long, fast walk with my
Uh-huh.
dog. And that's when I listen to my podcast. But that little routine of every morning writing without any distractions has been unbelievably beneficial. It's how I wrote my book. It's how I built up my blog. It's how I created the Boss program. It's how I created SOS. So it's either marketing, or I'm writing a job description, or I am working on a proposal for a client. That's really good. So
Oh,
that's one of my favorite habits.
well, I appreciate you giving that little bit of detail in there because it's not always writing on your book. There's a
No,
lot of other pieces that you take care of during that
correct.
time.
But the trick, Charlotte, is to not then go off onto the internet and to not check my email. And I'm never on social media.
Okay.
Never.
Yes.
Like I usually don't check my email until after 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And even then, I only do it very, very quickly because from 9 till 10:30, this is another one of my habits, is when I do the hardest work of the day.
Okay. And that's
And email is not the hard work.
right. Good. Thank you for sharing those. Well, do you have an internet resource that would help our listeners with their efficiency, like Evernote or an app? And storytellers, you will find the links to these sites in the show notes of today's episode at bizstorieshared.com/Hugh Culver.
That's great. That's great. Well, I'll be happy to send you one. There's a lot of resources I have actually. So why don't we do one on Evernote?
Okay,
Okay.
great.
All right.
Thank you. Would you describe for us who are perfect referrals for your business? That'd be the business associates or clients that the listeners know who would benefit from doing business with you.
So we are building the Get SOS platform. And so the
Okay.
perfect client for us right now, Charlotte, is a speaker who has a blog
Oh, okay.
and wants to get more traffic to their blog. So right now we are getting anywhere from 20 to 40% more traffic per month to speakers' blogs. So if they are a blogger and they understand the value of traffic, then they should definitely go to getsos.net and apply. It's not, we do not accept everybody, so they
Okay.
have to apply with the application form.
Right. But they need to be a blogger.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you for explaining that because I didn't realize that was a piece of it. Well, storytellers, Hugh has written a book called Give Me a Break: The Art of Making Time Work for You, which I heartily recommend. In Hugh's book, he describes a system that is simple, effective, and it helps you to get more control over your day. So that's my book recommendation. Now, Hugh, if you could recommend just one book to our listeners, what would it be?
Well, right now I am actually reading One Thing by Gary Keller, and it's fantastic. Have you read it?
No, I
The One
haven't.
Thing? Yeah, it's wonderful. So he uh, does a beautiful job of just simply talking about the value of getting focused. So what's the one thing? And this speaks to a lot of what we've already been talking about today, which is around getting distracted and not having a vision, not having a goal. And so I would recommend The One Thing.
All right, thank you. Well, Hugh, I've truly enjoyed listening to your journey and the stories that you've shared. So, will you please share one more time how we can get in touch with you and any other resources that you want us to have, and then we'll say goodbye.
Great. So best way is to go to my website, Hugh Culver, HUGHCULVER.com, and check me out there. The resource section is where I would encourage you to start. It's got some really good videos on time management, but also there's a video there on how I turn my business around. And then subscribe to my blog. So every week I am putting a lot of work into helping entrepreneurs through my blog.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you for being so generous with your time and expertise and your experiences. Listeners, remember you can find the links to this resource and everything that we've been chatting about in today's episode by going to bizstoryshare.com/Hugh Culver.
Also, listeners, Hugh has provided a gift for you. In the show notes, check on the green button. Learn how Hugh uses Evernote to organize his life, and you can too. Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you again, Hugh, so much. Bye for now. Give the storyteller some love. Go to bizstoryshare.com, click on the iTunes button, and give a 5-star review. Thanks.